Hey, this is David Hayter. You may know me as the screenwriter of films like X-Men, X-Men 2, and Watchmen, but you probably know me best as the voice of Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. And you're listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. Kept you waiting, huh?
All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mikhail Kasanova, and I have the honor and privilege of having the one, the only Amber Glow Yoga on the show. Amber, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. The one, the only. That's a fantastic intro. Thank you.
Hey, anytime. So how's your day been today? I think you're 2 hours or 3 hours ahead of me. I keep forgetting.
Well, it's 3:00 where I am.
Okay, so you're about 2 hours ahead of me.
Okay.
It's so crazy because like here in Hawaii, our time zone doesn't move at all. So like my friends are either going ahead an hour or back an hour. So I keep forgetting.
I didn't realize that Hawaii didn't change time. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't.
Nice. Keep it simple.
Cool. So other than that, how's your day been? How's your week? I feel like time's flying by quickly nowadays.
It is. I mean, I never know what day of the week it is anymore. But it was a good week. I taught yoga and I'm taking some classes for myself. I'm taking wushu and contortion. So I have those, which
Wow.
was really fun. And I've been cooking at home a lot. And it was just a pleasant week.
Wushu. Wow.
Yeah.
How's that going so far? I'm a fan
It's
of martial arts,
awesome.
so.
It's awesome. It's something I've never done before. I was a dancer my whole life.
Mhm.
And a yoga instructor for the past 2+ years. And so movement is just in my bones. Like I have to move. I love to move. I love to explore different kinds of movement. And this is just the next thing to try and explore. And it's challenging and I'm
Mhm.
super sore, but but it's a lot of fun. And where I train has a very like family community feel that I really love. It's incredibly diverse and it's great. People of all ages and all nationalities, and it's really cool.
Cool. I think the only other person I know that does wushu, and he has the same passion for that you do, is Ruben Langdon. He does Dante from Devil May Cry. It's actually one of my best friends, and like he's frequently out here, and he's like all into like wushu and holistic healing, and it's just you two should definitely have a conversation.
Yeah, sounds like it. Very cool.
But yeah, so go ahead and tell people where they can find you, and let's introduce yourself, and then we'll dive right on in.
Okay, well, I'm Amber Glow Yoga, and I teach yoga on Twitch to help gamers get healthier and happier through movement and mindfulness. And that started, oh gosh, April of 2019, last year, I think, is when I started teaching yoga on Twitch. I was a
Wow.
horror streamer before that. Kind of a strange switch over, but I figured since I had the knowledge to
Hmm.
help gamers, I kind of had the obligation to. And I saw that you know, people are stiff and people are achy and people are stressed and people are tired, and
Hmm.
yoga can help with so many of those things. So that's why I decided to bring yoga to Twitch and really focus on gamers and gamer health. I also dabble in ASMR. That's been a pretty new
Ooh.
thing for me, but I really enjoy it. I used to make fun of it so hard. I was like, what is this weird whisper stuff? This is so stupid. Um, and I made 2 joke ASMR videos for Halloween last
Mhm.
year, as Pennywise and as Freddy Krueger with like knives and like eating popcorn and like whispering, like Freddy's coming for you, you know, and I just made it super weird as a joke. I was like, wait, this is kind of fun.
Mhm.
And so now I do ASMR too.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, where can people find you on social media and everything?
Yes. So for Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and my yoga channel, it's all Amber Glow Yoga.
Mhm.
All of it's the same, Amber Glow Yoga. And then for my ASMR channel on YouTube, it's Amber Glow ASMR.
Okay, okay, definitely. I'll leave links to all of that down in the description below the podcast. I absolutely love the fact that you have universal branding across the board because it's one of the things like I try like telling a lot of content creators that I interact with. I'm like, hey, make sure you have universality across the board because it makes it so simple. It's like if someone's like, oh, what platform are you on? Like what social media? That's just my name, da da da. And it's
Mhm.
everywhere. So brilliant marketing there.
Keep it simple. Like it's stressful when other people there's like, I'm here, I'm this, and here I'm that, and here I'm this. I'm like, I'm never going to remember this. Sorry.
So since you brought up ASMR, I'm very curious about. I know one of the things like I've always wanted to know is like what are some of the benefits and like because I know a lot of people are into ASMR. So let's talk about it. How did you get into? I know you said like initially you're making fun of it, but then you got into it. What was that driving factor? Like what inspired you to want to get into it?
Honestly, when I started seeing how creative you could be with it,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hooked. I like the relaxing aspect of it, and I think there's a lot of benefits that go along with that. And being a yoga teacher and helping with relaxation in that way, I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the creativity for me is what really sold me. I started seeing YouTubers doing like role play videos,
Mm-hmm.
and that really lit me on fire because like I said, I have a dance background and also theater.
Mm-hmm.
So um, being able to basically create these little worlds, improvise. I mean, I don't write out my videos. I mean, I write out the concept and maybe what prompts
Mm-hmm.
I want to use, but all of the speech is improvised, and um, it's just a fun chance to play,
Mm-hmm.
to play in whispers.
It seems like it's really over, especially over the last couple of years, it's been really booming. And do you see it slowing down at any point or just accelerating at rocket light speed?
It seems to be accelerating. I know, like, I'm on a little break from ASMR
Mm-hmm.
at the moment. Just I'm focusing on yoga and some personal life stuff, just taking a little time for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm doing ASMR, I see my numbers jump significantly. My averages skyrocket when I'm doing ASMR.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna have to tell my wife who's sitting behind me she should start doing some
Hi, wife.
ASMR. But yeah, so she's also a content creator on YouTube and Twitch. So it's something we're seeing that, especially with this year, that a lot of people have been jumping into like content creation. And I think, on top of the pandemic and people having so much free time, do you see, I guess, when I guess we open up the new normal of how we're doing social distancing and everything, do you see there oh, okay, let me rephrase this question because I got myself confused. Anyway, let me rewind. Okay, pause, play. Okay, there we go. So do you see with all the people that have jumped into content creation since the pandemic, do you see the numbers continue to increase as this go on, or do you think people are going to drop off when stuff starts opening up universally across the country or the world?
Poof, I couldn't really begin to speculate. I would assume it would drop some.
Mm,
Um, as people have less time, they're going back to their offices or going back to their activities, things like that. But I think that people have made discoveries during this time, like people coming to Twitch for fitness or, for any reason really, that they might not have done that had the pandemic not happened. So they've made connections that may allow them to stay, So I mean, it could go a lot of different ways. I think it may drop some, but I think we've gained new viewers that, some of them will still stick around.
I've had a lot of people, I've seen and heard a lot of people say that, trying to be a content creator at this point or hopping on a Twitch or YouTube, like, and this is more on the negative end of it. I've heard some people say that like the opportunity for growth is gone and people should have started years ago. I'm finding that to be completely untrue. I've been on YouTube for about, 5 years. Anyway, I've been on YouTube for about 5 years, and Twitch, I actually just jumped on Twitch back in May, and I'm seeing growth. And I think for me, I'm just finding that being able to have creative outlets, like I used to just do gaming, but now like I've dived into doing live shows and, reruns of pre-recorded shows on Twitch, and I'm finding a lot of people are resonating with it. And I think that as far as like opportunities for growth, I think this is the new industry that is going to just continue to boom. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Go for it.
Well, let's start off with the fact that you said it is in its infancy. You know what I mean? Content creation has only been around for a few years. Like this is still a really new thing. So the possibilities are endless. We don't know what it can become. So I think that limiting yourself and saying, well, it's inundated, I can't grow. Create something new, be something interesting, do something different. I mean, sky's the limit. Second of all, I'll use bread as an example. You go to the grocery store and you go down the bread aisle, and there are 150 different kinds of bread that you can choose. If I wanted to become a bread baker, I wouldn't say, oh, well, there's already 150 breads on the grocery store aisle, I'll never make it. No, I'm going to make a different bread that will stand out, or a bread you've never heard of before. I'm going to make, jalapeno honey bread. I don't know. And that will be different.
That sounds good.
I would try it. That'll be different than anything else on the shelf, right? Don't just make the exact same hot dog bun. Of course, you're not going to get anywhere. You got to do something different. Make your packaging interesting. Make your recipe different. Donate your proceeds to a charity. I mean, no one is saying there's too much bread.
Yeah. And it leads into the conversation. And we kind of had this before we started recording, but like the idea that a lot of people think that content creation is incredibly easy, like to the point where there's no effort. I've been told that so many times that, oh, all you do is play video games. Oh, all you do is just talking to a microphone and a camera. And I'm like, the behind the scenes, it is not easy. So what has your experience been like? Tell people the reality of being a creator, because it's a lot of work. I feel like probably more work than most people do on a daily in some instances.
Yeah. I mean, this is the reason why I'm not doing ASMR right now, because I needed a little bit of time to collect myself and, take care of my life a little bit, because content creation is so consuming. You're planning content, you're doing live content. And after that live content, you're, clipping those streams down into, shareable content for social media. So you're editing, throughout the night. And then if you're, doing YouTube as well, then you're writing videos and recording those videos and then editing those videos and then doing all of like the SEO and the social media to promote those videos. It's never ending. And you think about it all the time, all day, every day. It's on your mind. And you are a writer and you are a video editor and you are a graphic designer and you are a lighting specialist and you
Yep.
are a cameraman and you have to learn about angles and you have to learn about technology, and like there's so much. And when I started this, I didn't even like computers. Like computers annoyed me. I'm like, ew, we should just like go back to books, and like I hate computers. And so it was like building from the ground up for me, learning every single step along the way. It's a ton of work, but it's worth it and it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a process, and it's one that I'll say this, it could be look, I'm known for controversial statements, you know. Anyway, Gothics knows this about me. That's why Gothics and I, we vibe. But like one of the things I like to say is that anyone can do content creation. Not everyone can be successful. And the determining factor is not luck or anything like that or skill. It's literally how willing are you to put in the work. And it's something that I've seen a lot of friends and a lot of people I know that have just hopped into it, and then they're thinking I'm going to see immediate success, or I'm going to immediately know how to operate an audio interface and the cameras and all this. Like, even for me, I'm like you, like I learned a lot of this stuff as I went. Like I had no idea how to use audio interface. Then I had to learn how to use the Go XLR and use optical cables and find, you know, this mic and all this other stuff. And it's like the amount that you deal with, you are your producer, you're your own publicist, you're an agent, you're your manager, you're your editor, you're your on-screen personality, script writer, you're wearing all these hats. And I think that pressure for a lot of people is too much, which is fine. It's not for everyone.
And yeah, it's not for everybody. And that there's no shame in that.
Yeah. But like it's one of the things that if you can do it and you can enjoy it, then that's the great part. Because like you, like I like you were saying, like you're always thinking about it. I'm that way. Like I'm always thinking about it to the point where when I take a break, and I don't know if you feel this way too, but like for me, when I take a break from it, I sometimes feel guilty for doing that. Like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
being selfish. Like, I need to make content. Like this whole week, I have been stressed to the max, to the point where like I'm taking what's it, CBD oil, so I can just calm down, because we have the new consoles launch. I just covered the Xbox. PlayStation 5. I got to put that video out. Got the new NVIDIA graphics card. I just partnered up with NVIDIA on the
Awesome.
show, and I'm stressed out because I'm like, I got to put out content every single day. But then I'm like, I kind of want to take time away because my wife and I are expecting. We're having our first kid. And
Congratulations.
so, thank you.
That's awesome.
So there are parts where I feel like, am I focusing too much on one over the other? And then she also does content. Oh, I slapped microphone. I'm sorry, microphone. Anyway, she does her own content creation as well. Like she has a podcast, she does streaming, she does YouTube content, and we're both having that instance where we're like, we got to pull away so we can spend time together. But then are we spending too much time together and not putting out content? So it's a juggling act. And I
Balance
think
is
a lot of,
hard.
yeah, it really is. Like, do you ever feel like taking time away affects your, like, on as far as YouTube, your SEO, or on Twitch, your momentum and growth, or no?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. For sure. Not enough to like super stress about it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have an amazing community, some diehards that are there no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, I preach about the importance of self-care and taking time for you in
Mm-hmm.
my content. So people, when I choose to do that, I guess I'm just practicing what I preach. But yeah, it does feel stressful to take a break. Like I took last night off because I had a headache and I was like, I don't feel good. I'm gonna take the
Mm-hmm.
night for myself. And, I felt bad. But sometimes, you have to. You can't pour out into your community. You can't give give good content if you are drained and stressed and upset or, unfulfilled in your family life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And since you brought up self-care, which I think is incredibly important, um, let's dive into it. I know you say you talk to your community about that all the time. Why is it so essential, in your words, for maintaining self-care and being, I guess you could say, even selfish about it, because you need to take a time for yourself. You can't burn a candle at both ends and expect it to keep going. So,
Right. Eventually, something has to give. Well, I always say that you need to listen to your body when it's whispering, because you can't ignore it when it's screaming.
yeah.
So you've got to pay attention to the little cues that you're getting, like, hey, I need a break. Hey, I'm not feeling quite right. Maybe I need to change up my diet. Hey, maybe I need to move my body a little bit more. Like, pay
Mhm,
attention to those cues and get on it fast, so you're not taking way more time off later because you've ignored it so long. You're now
mhm.
really sick or really sad, or something like that.
Okay. And one of the other things that you mentioned about, you talked about your community. How essential is having a community as a content creator? Like, what are some of the, okay, this is two questions. So question two, on top of that, as far as like community building, like what are some positive aspects of your community and what you think ideally people should go for when they're building one?
So part one of that was how important is building a community.
Yes.
I think it's everything. I think that is the point of it all.
Hmm.
If you don't have a community, it's just you talking into a camera to no one. You know what I mean? Like, hello world, I'm awesome. But if you don't have a community to back that, nobody knows who you are or cares, right? Like, what's the point? You have to have a community. You have to build a community.
Hmm.
Um, and positive aspects of my community, I hate this saying because it's just like too catchy and cute for me, but they say your vibe
Hmm.
attracts your tribe. And I feel like that's really kind of happened for me.
Hmm.
I have gained a community of people who are kind, who are inquisitive, who care about each other. Like, I think one of my
Hmm.
favorite things is when I see people connect in chat, and
Hmm.
then like they to build their own relationships, outside of just me and what I'm doing, but they learn to connect and they come and they talk to each other. I think that
Hmm.
that's such a cool thing to see happen. um the people who are my mods, they've been with me for years. um well, most of them have been with me for years, and are
Hmm.
friends. We've met in person. We've hung out. We share, we talk every day. We share our lives with each other.
Hmm.
um and I physically cannot do that with every person that comes into my community. And I think there's sometimes that expectation, but like, there's one of me and many of you.
Yeah.
That's not always going to be the case, but I try my best to reach out to people if I haven't seen people for a while, like, hey, just want to make sure you're doing okay.
Hmm.
And people will do that to me, like, hey, you've been a little quieter lately, how are you doing? There just tends to be a really loving and compassionate group around the glow bugs. We call ourselves the glow bugs. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And I feel like we've been really fortunate to have like minimal trolling, you know, um,
Hmm.
and I speak to that a lot. Like, I ask people not to attack trolls, to come from a place of understanding, like, hey, let's give them a second chance, like, rewind
Hmm.
that, let's do better. So I think, just, yeah, my community is so just sweet. They're just sweet, good people, and I love them.
It's one of the things, like when you like start building your community, and from the sound of it, it sounds like it's organically grown, and it's not something, and I try, this is something like other content creators in my Discord community. I have a lot of other content creators that come in and they're hanging out. They're asked like, oh, how do I reach out to this company? How do I build this community? How do I do this? And like when it comes to community building, I really try to tell people, let it organic happen. Like you can't force it because not everyone is going to vibe with you. Not everyone is going to have the same values as you. And it's okay if they don't, it's just, they're not, people come to your life for a season, reason, or a lifetime. And so for me, like with my community, I've had people, oh God, this year especially, I've had people rotate in and out, but I've had some consistent ones that have been there since day one that,
Mhm.
from when I started doing YouTube to started streaming on Twitch to now, it's like they've been here from day one, and it's like they're my mods, they're like they're my friends in real life. And it's crazy to say this, but a lot of the people that I've met through content creation that have become friends are closer to me than people who live down the street with, and people
Oh,
that I've actually
100%.
you know
Yeah,
isn't that crazy though how that happens?
it is. But I think it's kind of akin to online dating, I guess, where you get to know
Hmm.
the person more intimately through conversation,
Hmm.
um, rather than like seeing someone, making a judgment, like there's a closeness that happens um online.
Hmm.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but I like it. It's weird. It's weird. The internet can be such like an ugly place. Like meeting people
Yeah.
online can be terrible, but it can
Hmm.
also be really wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
it
it's a
really can.
strange thing, strange times we live in.
It really is. Like it's interesting, like how people I went to. God, has it been that long since? It's been that long since I've been in college. Wow. So, a decade ago, people that I've known, like when I graduated from college, I still run into them every time I go to the store or I go out somewhere and I'll see them. Oh, hey, hi, how you doing? It's casual. And these are people I used to be hanging out all the time with in college or partying with or, going to the beach, camping with and stuff like that. And it's crazy how we drifted apart and they know so very little about me now.
Mhm.
But my community, people I've met through content creating, such as like Gothics and the whole crew at Ghost Up Tweet This and other creators that I've met online and either have never met or met like once or twice off, but I'm like that with them. It is insane how like it just I guess it shows how we as humans can just connect with people regardless of physical, it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's so crazy.
Yeah. It is. It's definitely deeper than that.
So, switching gears, I definitely want to dive into your career as a content creator. So, not only that, but also holistic healing and yoga. Like, so how did you what's the story? What's the origin point?
For
How'd you
yoga
get
or content?
okay, so we're gonna divide this into multiple parts. How did you get into yoga and being a yoga instructor?
Okay. So have been a dancer since I was like 18 months old. It's been my whole life.
Hmm.
Um, yoga, a lot of the movements in yoga, were part of my warm-ups and stretches and things like that throughout my life.
Hmm.
I took some yoga classes in high school at my dance studio. But like I really was introduced to it like in a real way in college. It
Hmm.
was a required part of my dance major and I hated it. I was like, this is not for me. I'm hypermobile and like incredibly flexible. So that
Hmm.
wasn't a problem, but I was very weak. So holding these postures, like I'm so uncomfortable. I hate this stuff. So I can just get through this class. I never do this again.
Hmm.
But my friends were into it. I'd go to classes here and there, and suffer through. Um
Suffer through.
But at one point, a few years back, I was in a hotel for 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and I didn't have a car, so I was just kind of stuck there while my husband was working, and, there's nothing to do, so I started doing yoga with Adriene YouTube videos
Hmm.
to, like, pass the time, and and I had gone through a really rough patch in life leading up to this, like,
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I had 2 miscarriages prior to this, And so I was in a really dark place. I wasn't moving my body. I was kind of like a lump on the couch. And so I started doing these videos, and it
Mhm.
started helping me breathe and relax and let go of some of that pain. And it allowed me to get the stiffness out and remember like what freedom of movement was.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, when I get back home, I am doing this because this is great. So the thing that I hated ended up really helping me in my healing process. So
Okay.
yeah.
My condolences for that. Um,
Oh, you
it,
know what?
it,
We persevere. Life is tough, but we persevere.
no, it's true. It's never easy, going through that losing a child. One of the things I talk, and I think it helps me in talking about it, but like about 11, 12 years ago, I had my first child who passed away in sudden infant death syndrome. So it's not easy
I'm so
dealing with
sorry.
that. So it's yeah. So that's like in hearing that you went through that. I've actually gone through that with my current wife, and that's not. So my heart goes out to you and your husband. So
And to
that's
you. And to you.
uh, so um yeah. So you took a negative, turned into a positive.
Yeah.
So and it's like where have you gone with it from there? Like how has that journey been since you just like dove into it?
It's been really cool. So I did my teacher training,
Mhm.
and that was a really cool and difficult experience. I mean, it was physically and mentally incredibly demanding.
Mhm.
Um, but I took to it really naturally because I'd been teaching dance for like 15 years.
Mhm.
Um, So I did my training, and even before I graduated, a friend of mine who's a yoga teacher was like, "Hey, why didn't you come help me at EDC? I'm teaching a yoga class there, and I need some people to help with hands-on assistance." So
Mhm.
I got to go to EDC for free and do hands-on yoga assistance with people, which was really, really cool. Um, and then, I was streaming,
Mhm.
and that's when I started to think about, like, "Oh, maybe I'll bring, um, yoga to Twitch."
Mhm.
And it started off small. So I was watching Ashley Christ's videos back then, and, she talked
Good
about
friend of
how
mine.
she's so fantastic, I just adore
Yeah.
her. Um, but she was, talking about how she would offer like one-on-ones,
Mhm.
coaching or whatever, the first 15 minutes of stream, to like get people to come in. She'd do these giveaways. I was like, I could do that. I could get people to come in with something, but like what do I have to offer? I don't know. I yoga. You guys want a yoga class? I'll give you, 30 minutes of yoga with me on Discord if you like come early.
Mhm.
So that's how it started, and, I did those one-on-ones, and I saw how people liked it, and I saw, I had this cool connection with them when I was working one-on-one through Discord, and I was like, "This is really cool." Then we had International Yoga Day, and so I taught
Mhm.
sun salutations on my stream, and people were like, "Oh, this is really cool." And, um, then I started, giving, my subs, access to little short yoga videos every weekend.
Mhm.
Um and then it just developed into I'm now streaming it. Uh, and that has produced a lot of really cool opportunities. I was accepted to teach a yoga class focused on gamers at TwitchCon.
Wow.
Yeah, which was awesome. I think we had like 80-ish maybe people in the room, but we had over 11,000 watching online. And I didn't know that when I was teaching, or else I would have passed out. I found out afterwards. But that was really cool. And from there, I made some connections, which allowed me to be featured on the front page at the beginning of the year. They were doing a focus on health and fitness,
Yeah.
at the start of the year. And so I got to be on the front page two times a week. Yeah, two times a week for like 3 months.
Wow.
Um, So that was really awesome, and, we averaged between 1,000 and 10,000 for every one of those streams, so that was really cool.
How did
Um
you not panic?
I
Wow.
mean, I've been a performer for most of my life, like, I performed at the Kennedy Center, and I've performed for
Mhm.
Cirque du Soleil, so, like, being in front of people isn't, um it's not too bad anymore. Uh, but this has all inspired me. I've now written a book, um, and my manuscript is finished. I'm in the process of interviewing editors right now,
Mhm.
and, I'm hoping to have it out by the new year, but I've never written a book before, and the writing was easy. It's these next steps that are difficult.
So for your book, excitement levels up here, anxiety levels where?
Excitement levels medium, anxiety levels probably above that. But I do look forward to it being out. It's completely illustrated.
Mhm.
All the poses are illustrated, and I tried to make sure that each person that is uh, presenting the pose
Mhm.
represents our community, right? So I
Mhm.
tried to have all colors and sizes and personality types and fashion choices, and I tried to really mix that up. And there's a few little Easter eggs of people I know.
Ooh,
So
cool.
that's neat.
Awesome, awesome. So, that's another thing when it comes to content creating, the doors it opens are doors you never would have expected
Oh,
and
no,
opportunities.
actually, I forgot I had HyperX reach out to me, and I got to do a stream for them, on
Mhm.
their channel, doing some gaming and then, relating the theme of that game to yoga, and then I got to teach a yoga class, so that was really cool too.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
that so you're doing content creating full time, right?
Yes.
Streaming, YouTube. Okay. So, um, how do you manage with that? Like, how do you I know we dived into aspects of that game, but like in going from normal work to full-time create, how do you deal? I've
I've
been
ne
doing this for a year and I'm still not ready. Like I feel like there's nothing that prepares
I've never really had normal work though, and that's the
you.
thing. Like, I mean, I like gig work, freelance work. I mean, I've
Mhm.
had jobs kind of in between those things, like retail. Even my bartending job wasn't normal. I was a dancing bartender, so like,
Oh.
we were dancing on the bars and pouring drinks, and I mean, nothing that I've done in my life has been normal. I was a street performer. I have done like flash mobs. I did promotional modeling. Um, I've been in like being in shows and productions. That was a large part of my life. I think the most normal job I ever had was I was a substitute teacher for a little while. But even
Mhm.
that was like in the creative realm. Like I was given a classroom for the entire year, and I got
Mhm.
to create all of the curriculum, and it was a theater class. So it was just like
Oh,
right
wow.
up my alley. I've never had like a job. So this is just the next thing for me.
Jobs suck. They
Job.
do. They do.
I don't like the
It's
job.
I don't know. Like I have to say, like for me, like you know, going to school, getting an education, it hasn't done nothing for me. Because it's funny, I went to school for well actually no, it has. I guess you could say marketing and business. It has helped me. It didn't help me for like 10 years until like I decided to do this full time. But it's one of those things where it's like I feel like society in a way like kind of trains us. We got to go to school, got to get this education, get this job. And for the next 30 or 40 years, you're going to do this one thing and that's it. And you're going to be content with it. And like out here in Hawaii, which is, and I speak frequently on this and pisses people off here because the bar is so low here. you're lucky if you meet anyone here that graduates middle school, because
Oh, wow.
dropout rates here are incredibly high, like middle school, junior high. You're lucky if someone to graduate high school. And if you actually stuck with education, because it's not really something a lot of people here value unless they send you to a private school or command school,
Hmm.
which is the elite for us Hawaiians. So, and going to school, graduating college, I was actually one of the first in my family to ever do that. And getting a degree, not being able to do anything with marketing business because of the crash in 2008. I was like, all right, what am I going to do? And then social media took off, which made marketing firms to an extent irrelevant. So then
Mm.
I'm jumping around doing gigs, odd jobs. I got into music because I sing. So I got into the music industry. I did that. That's not about music at all. Talk about that. But you know, then going into IT, which is I have no background in IT, but I learned on the go because I need to make money.
Yeah.
Got into it, did that, and then I got placed at the the hospital that everybody in Hawaii wants to work for because they pay so good. And I got there, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a dream job. You've hit the top," because I became the senior systems analyst and senior administrator for telephony and phone architecture, like Cisco and whatnot. And so I got there. I was in this position for years, and everyone's like, "Yo, this is the dream job. You can retire off of this. This is everything you're working for." And I'm over here like, I'm miserable. I
Right.
don't like this. Like, I, and maybe it's because of coming from a family of, you know, musicians and singers. I've always had that creative bug, and I always want to pursue creative, which is why I got in the music industry, which I regret. No, actually, no, it was a learning lesson. But in doing, the career, the job thing, I just, I felt like I wasn't fulfilled. I felt like I was just a cog on the wheel that was going nowhere. I'm just
Hmm.
rotating this cog, and it really, it didn't help. I was working 17-hour days, 6 days a week, and 8 hours on the seventh day. I was on call 24/7, and even when I was on vacation, I was on call. And the reason I stepped away, uh, I think I've shared this before, but one of the reasons I stepped away is because my job was it was getting to the point it was super stressful dealing with, I'll say, idiots. I don't know how they were directors, but didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
And, dealing with inner office politics, which I found that at almost every job I've gone to, even with retail, like there's all these political backstabbing and bullshit that's there. Like there was so much stress that I took home that, I'm always stressed out. I'm always irritated at this. And, my wife had to deal with that. And honestly, when I decided to quit, which was so abrupt, and I think it was so shocking to a lot of people, because I'd been the company for almost a decade. I quit, one, because I couldn't handle the stress. I was mentally getting to a point where I was just like, my brain would just shut down. Like I would
Yeah,
have,
no one should have to deal with that.
yeah, and it was that point where it was jeopardizing my marriage. So it's like, do I keep this job that pays really good, but it stresses me out to a point where I'm miserable, or do I leave it and save my marriage? And so I decided to do that. And the amount of people telling me I'm crazy, you'll never find anything like this, you never da da da, it's been insane. But I found that it's strange how a lot of people will root for you when you're doing something that's not making you happy. But the minute you go into something like content creating or pursuing a dream, there's a lot of opposition. And I find that strange.
I mean, people expect the status quo, right? They even
Yeah.
talking about that, like go to school, go to college, get the job, work at 30 years. And people they have expectations, you know.
Yeah.
But always been one to kind of buck against that. And I think that it's been so long, people are like, "Yeah, whatever. That's just what she does."
So and speaking of like bucking the system, like how you and I actually got introduced to one another was there was a video you put out, and it was I found it very, very truthful. I very much resonated with it because it's I don't even know how to describe what's going on because it's so strange, but it's becoming the new norm where people are, if you're black or mulatto or a person of color, since that's the new buzzword that people are using.
I mean, we're all a color.
Yeah, we are, right? So it's like it's I feel like when you dive into the psychology of it, it's a very exclusionary term to be like, yeah, everyone but you who are white, you're not, it's
Yeah.
I hate it. But anyway, there's this thing going on where the mentality is, oh, you're black. I need to uplift you. I need to give you opportunities. I don't give a damn what you do. I don't care about your content. I'm just judging you, which is in all cases, it's racism,
Yeah.
but it's acceptable. And I don't understand that. But your video you put out, which resonated with a lot of people, was don't just support me because I'm black. Support me because I make dope content that
Right.
people can resonate with. Did you get any blowback from that? And what inspired you to make that, to put that message out?
Well, I've been really bothered recently
Mhm.
by a lot of the conversations that I'm hearing and the way society is approaching race relations.
Mhm.
I'm just seeing people get dropped into boxes.
Yes.
And that not I mean not even just with race, but like, oh, Trump supporters over here and liberal leftists over here and black people this and white people this and Christians here and atheists there. I mean, everyone just gets put in these boxes and then that just
Mhm.
shuts down conversation. We have these catchphrases and like little hot button words that we use to make our arguments about those people
Yeah.
instead of having any kind of conversation with that person as an individual.
Mhm.
Um, so that's where I'm coming from right now in my life. Like, I'm so tired of people in boxes. Like,
Yes.
this person can't do this because they're black, or this person always does this because they're white. Like, you don't know that person. You
Mhm.
don't know that person, that individual, the life that they live, the experiences that they have. Um, and so that's where I was coming from when I posted that video. That day, I had specifically seen several people calling for support of black creators. And I'm just thinking, why?
Mhm.
What are you offering? Maybe your content is awesome. Promote your content.
Mhm.
Promote the content of your character and not your skin tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know what you're creating is actually good? What can you base it on if people are only there because you're brown?
Yeah. Um, I I've gotten into some hot water for similar takes on that,
I'm
and
sure.
especially the recent subtweet this podcast I was on. Yeah, that had a lot of people upset.
Oh no.
That
People
had
love to be upset though. That's the thing. Like at a point you're like, well, no matter what I say, somebody's gonna be upset.
right, right. So it was interesting because looking at the amount of views and downloads of the podcast versus outrage towards the clip on Twitter. I'm like reading the comments of all the the angry folks. I'm just gonna say all ethnicities, but primarily one over the other. They're just so angry and outraged. How dare he say this? Blah blah blah. And I'm over here like, okay, so to give context, one of the things that I said was, people that call themselves, you know, I guess that are they don't have opportunities or they're oppressed. And I'm like, can we because in my mind, I'm like, we really need to define what type of oppression are you talking about? Because
Right.
I'm from third world country. I'm from Western Samoa or Samoa. And I grew up there till I was 7 and then came to the US because my dad, who is Black and Dominican, is from Memphis, Tennessee. We moved there, I lived there, and saw an entirely different thing where people were saying they're oppressed. And this is something I've heard all my life growing up with a lot of people that are Black, our fellow Black folks that are always talking about how oppressed they are. And I'm over here like, okay, how much, where's the self agency? Where's some self accountability? Because, okay, maybe the system, maybe it's not fully set up for us to fail, but set up for us to succeed. But at the same time, you see so many of us that are multimillionaires, multi-billionaires.
Hmm.
We dominate entire industries. Where is the oppression? Because I come from a country where it's like, that's oppression, that's socialistic, that's where really terrible shit happens. And I'm looking at, and I got called out for that. Like I'm a race traitor, or I'm self-hating Black person because I don't understand the struggle. And I'm like, okay, granted, I don't get it. And I don't understand this societal push to just support someone because of their skin color. Because what I fear, and I've had so many talks with Gothics about this, and what I fear is we're undoing everything that the people who fought in the civil rights movement were trying to establish: equality. I feel like they're trying to undo that because we're literally dropping everyone in boxes. Like,
Hmm.
oh, you're this, so you go here, you're that. And the thing with this push, this abnormal push for race, like, you're this, you're that, you're Latinx, which is a term I don't,
I'm not a fan.
I'm not either, and I don't understand it. And like when I talk to my Dominican side of my family, they don't get it. Or the folks in my family that are Puerto Rican or Hispanic, like they're like, I don't understand that. But the thing of dropping people in boxes, and it's ultimately a push, in my opinion, for segregation.
Hmm.
What happens when you have people, which like us, that are mixed? What happens with us? What happens
Right.
with our kids who are going to be more diverse than we are? They're going to have to pick, you're this, and stick with it. Like, I've been told that for me to get ahead, I need to drop saying that I'm mixed, which I put no emphasis on my race, because
No, me
me,
either.
I'm like, I'm Mikkel. What are you mixed with? Well, what is my race? I'm human. What are my ethnicities? I'm this. Like, we call it out here mixed plate, because we're just a little bit of everything, you know.
Little
But
dab of
it's
this,
like,
little dab of that.
like just a pinch of this, and some of that.
I mean,
Like,
let's be real, most people are.
mhm. but this push to just be one thing, and you're in this box. And if you're not in this box, then you're fully excluded. Or if you're white, then you're persecuted for being white. Oh, you have white privilege. Da, 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 da.
I got called white adjacent. That was
What the
something
hell
that
is
was
that?
I don't know.
That's a new one.
White adjacent. I'm like, I mean, sure. Is that supposed to be a bad thing? I don't understand.
I like, I don't understand. I don't, and it scares me. Just the direction we're going, it does scare me. I recently, where my wife, she put out a tweet about ALC on Twitch, how like immediately she was verified and this and that. And basically she put out a tweet trying to understand why that is. Like, yes, she understands, okay, she's a public figure and she's a government figure, but you immediately, on her first stream, boom, she's verified.
Hmm.
Like, what is the process? So she's questioning what that is. And I'm gonna use Goth's, her term. Black Twitter got angry. They got angry at my wife, and my wife is half white, half half Italian, or half white and half Hawaiian. And because she favors her white side, they got really mad at her. You know, she got called a lot of things, a racist, Nazi, all this, all kinds of just horrible things, just for asking a question. And it's, I'm ranting. People that really talk about, and it's funny because these are people that talk about inclusivity,
Right.
and they're
Right.
not. They're not inclusive. They're very divisive, and I don't understand why this is becoming the norm.
I don't either. I find that all the talk of oppression is
Mhm.
oppressive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're constantly, I got into it with this girl on Twitter a few weeks ago who, kept saying like, Blacks have so much less opportunity, like we need to support them. She was going on about this. She's like, I'm an ally. I want to be there for you guys. And I kind of jumped in and was like, hey, just so you know, like this kind of language is actually really hurtful. Like you are
Yeah.
basically admitting that you are somehow better than me and that I'm supposed to be, oppressed and struggling. And I'm not. Like I'm very happy and I'm thriving in my life. Like this is really offensive. And another guy chimed in and then she started posting articles of statistics of struggles
Mhm.
of Black people, like to prove to us how oppressed we were. And I'm like, are you trying to be helpful here? Because like this is really offensive.
Yeah.
I hate that word because everybody throws that word around, offensive. Everything's offensive. But I mean,
Yeah.
but that was like, I don't know what you're trying to help here, but it seems like as a quote unquote ally, which is another term that I'm so tired of,
Me too.
as a quote unquote ally, you're here pushing for me to stay down.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's what the message is, like, stay down. Stay down. Life's so hard. Embrace the pain. We've been through so much. Like, how about no, we acknowledge our horrible history. We recognize the progress that we've made.
Mhm.
And we just, like, I'm thankful for my life. I'm thankful for my freedoms. I'm thankful for my opportunities. Not that life is perfect, not that I haven't experienced racism, but like
Mhm.
that doesn't define me. Like I don't allow people with bad opinions of me to define me. Like
Mhm.
I'm not going to walk around living this miserable life because I'm told to. Um
Yeah.
it's so hurtful and I have people reach out to me and say, "Well, you know, you don't represent Black people, like, you don't know what it's like, what Black people feel like." I'm like, "I'm a person with do you see me? Let me look in the mirror right quick. Oh, okay, yeah. No, we're in the same boat. So how am
Yeah.
I not understanding the quote unquote Black experience," which I also posted a video on, like, what is the Black experience? Experiences of Black people. I am one of them. My experience is not the same as yours. There isn't one solo Black experience. And when we talk about that, we
Mhm.
invalidate our own individual trials and struggles and successes and accomplishments. Like all of that gets thrown away to just be an oppressed Black person.
Yeah. Yep. I this
Sorry, I'm drinking water and I'm like gurgling.
no,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. No, I'm just waiting for you to throw the pinky up. It's like,
Mm.
no, because okay. So here's the thing, I I don't understand this. I don't understand this push to say that we're a monolith. It completely derails and invalidates us as individuals
I mean, it goes
because
back
you,
to like, oh, savages. They're dumb savages. They're all the same.
yes,
It's the same
yes,
thing.
yes. And it's so weird. Like I've been told the same thing as you. Like I don't I don't understand the Black experience. I need to do this. I need to toe the line. I need to only uplift other, Black creators. Where I'm like, hold on. Why can't I just support people because they're dope? Why does race have to be a thing? Like I saw the whole thing with Dr. Lupo, how they went at him. That was
Yeah.
disgusting.
That was awful. How is he there? Is he the savior? Why is that his responsibility? Oh, please, white man, save us? I don't understand that at all.
I,
I'm gonna get
I
so much hate for this right now. But
no,
I don't
no.
get it.
I don't get it either, and I don't understand this because I've seen it, especially with all the protests and everything that have been happening and BLM, all this stuff. I, I meant to say this on Gothic's show, but like, I don't need to say Black Lives Matter. I know my life matters,
Right.
you know? And the question is, if you're saying that, do you not know the value? Life itself matters. So it's this idea, and this always seems to pop up, especially lately around election seasons. This
Mhm.
always pops up, and it's so strange, especially these allies. I had a guest on a Twitch streamer that people can ascertain who that is. I'll tell you offline, but I had him on, and the show was going good, and then we started talking about, I guess, inclusivity and diversity, and his whole thing was trying to say about how he has things easier because he's white. I have things harder because I'm black. And when I kept saying, no, that's not true, it's like he got offended that
Right.
I was questioning it. And I've seen this, which is why, look, I'll just say, I can't fucking stand people to say I'm an ally. No, you're not. You just want to participate and you just want a
Here's your
cookie to
gold
say,
star.
that's like the people, I voted. Ooh, woo. You know?
I mean, I posted one of those, but
No, not you know what I mean though. The
Yeah.
people that are like
Yeah.
trying to manipulate you to believe whatever the narrative bullshit that they're into. No, it's
Yeah.
cool. I like the people are voting because it's powerful.
Yeah,
It's powerful.
that is.
But like the people that try to use it as a manipulation tactic, I don't
Sure.
care for that.
Sure.
Like the what I've seen with allies is when you challenge whatever narrative that they have in their head, they do not like it because their thing is, no, you're this because I said you are. You're this because this, here are the stats. And he even went into that, like statistically speaking, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I'm an individual. This has been my experience. Oh, well, you've just had a harder life, blah, blah, blah. And you don't have all these opportunities because you're black. Okay, that's your opinion. It's not true. I'm like, okay. It's like, well, I have black friends.
But I am black.
I mean,
I'm so glad that your relationship with somebody else is more valid than my actual being the thing that we're talking about.
they just, I don't understand it. Like, and it's so racist,
It
and
is.
they don't see it, or maybe they do and they don't care.
Yeah. I feel like the people that are working so hard to be anti-racist are some of the most racist.
Mhm.
Here's what it is for me. Anti-racism to me is not talking about it. Anti-racism to me is living your life with people of all different colors and just existing together
Yeah,
normally, having a day.
yeah.
That's it. That is anti-racism. Um, obviously if something blatantly racist were to happen, like someone's shouting the N-word somewhere, and then if you're in that situation and you want to step in and tell that person to stop doing that, that's great.
Mhm.
That's a wonderful thing to do. But here's an example. So
Okay.
my best friend, we grew up together. I've known her since I was 12.
Mhm.
I went to her wedding a few years back in Tennessee. And I was really excited to go because I was kind of considering moving to Tennessee. Nashville kind of seemed like a vibe I would be into.
Mhm.
So I was like, yay, I finally get
Don't
to
go
go
to
to
Memphis. Don't go to Memphis.
I finally get to go to Tennessee. So I went And I don't look for racism. It's not something I think about day to day, but I
Mm-hmm.
but I actually experienced it in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
People moving tables and looking at me funny, making comments under their breath about me.
Yeah.
It was very real. And I didn't mention it to her. It was her wedding. Like, I'm not going to say anything. But
Mm-hmm.
we were talking just a few days ago, and I brought that up to her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Now, there are people out there who will say that, like, that's her white privilege, and, like, how dare she, turn a blind eye to what I experienced. But here's what my take was on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super happy that she didn't notice. And the reason is we were just living. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't
Mm-hmm.
see that because it wasn't on her mind, because we were just out as two friends living our lives. Like, I I appreciate that she's naive to it, because that means she just sees me for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. That's I never took it that way. Like that's actually very powerful, what you just said. Because it's just seeing you as an individual, seeing
Right.
you as a friend. It's not focusing or hyper fixating on your race
Mm-mm.
or your skin color. And it's something I think that's a great takeaway. I think a lot of people should approach that way. And I feel like there was a time when we kind of did do that as a society, especially here in America. But yeah, as far as racism in Tennessee, yeah, I lived there. That was one of the reasons why
Ah.
I got the hell up out of there. I used to live, so yeah, we moved to Memphis when I was 7, and I left for Hawaii when I was 16 because I couldn't deal with it. My mom wanted me to get out of there because it's in your face.
Yeah.
You see it. Um, I don't think the approach that a lot of people take with the anti-racism is to just, we're gonna shout it down, da 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 da, because you what's the saying? You can live long enough to become the villain,
Mhm.
and you be careful you fight monsters before you become one. And a lot of
Mhm.
these anti-racist people have become the very thing they claim to be,
Right.
and it's just it's very concerning. I've got friends that, especially out here in Hawaii, and maybe that's one of the benefits of growing up here, is everyone here is mixed.
Yeah.
Now there's a metric fuck ton of racism here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I've actually experienced more of it here than in the South or
Oh.
anywhere else in the United States. And it's shocking to people when I say that, because they're like, "Oh, but you guys are, it's paradise, it's all aloha," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, get outside the tourist area,
Mm.
you'll see it." There's very strong white hatred and black hatred here, and Asian hatred here.
Hmm.
The Asian hatred is going on since before, like slightly before World War II, just because they felt like they were just, you know, taking from opportunities from people here.
Yeah.
And it's there's a lot of segregation here, even though we're all intermixed. But you have some areas that are uh just Asian, like the upper class areas are typically just Asian and white. And you've got uh middle class, which is typically, Hapa or mixed people. And then you've got your areas that are just Samoan or Tongan or Micronesian. And it's just Hawaiians, you know, I'm Hawaiian as well, but we make a very, very small percentage just because we intermix before everyone else. So like
Right.
people like, oh, you're the lowest population. Not really. It's just we're very intermixed. But like people who like to claim they're just pure Hawaiian, and then there's that whole group, which they're so pure Hawaiian, they're nationalistic to the sense of they hate anyone who is not. Like there's a
Mm.
push to segregate Hawaii from the United States. Very strong. It's been going on for a long time.
Hmm.
And we recently had the telescope, which was going to be built on Big Island on Mauna Kea. And it's sacred ground, but that whole situation was going to bring in jobs and opportunities for people here in Hawaii to be self-sustained beyond tourism, but by science. There's going to be millions upon millions, if not billions, going back into the Hawaii community. But then you had the racist nationalistic side where they're anti anything America, anything Western world, anything modern conveniences. And it's so hypocritical. I'm seeing people say, oh, we are Mauna Kea, we're proud Hawaiians, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, so you care, but you don't mind if I swear to you? You mind?
Oh, what? No, please.
Okay. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna catch you this, but I don't care. I'm gonna say this because you motherfuckers care about a telescope being built on a goddamn mountain. There ain't nobody up there anyway. So you care about that. But when you see all the homeless people, local homeless people, children on the streets eating out of garbage cans, the shanty towns of just the whole stretches of streets and neighborhoods of just homeless people. You don't care about Hawaii then. You walk by them, take pictures of them or videos of them, laugh at them, throw rocks at them, which happens here a lot.
You're gonna make me
But
cry.
you care, but they care. Y'all care about a telescope being built. That's when you want to be Hawaiian. That's when you want to be proud. That's when you want to be nationalistic. That's when you want to protest.
Jeez.
So you don't want to do anything we have an extremely high homeless situation.
I've heard that.
Yeah. That human trafficking is bad. We have a lot of girls that go missing because there's a lot of prostitution rings here.
Yeah.
A lot of pimps in Waikiki and just in Hawaii in general. There's severe opioid issues. Like a lot of people are hooked on dope and heroin and crack. But none of that matters.
Maybe that's why they call us the Ninth Island. We got a lot of those issues too.
Right. So it's just people pick and choose. They pick and choose. It's frustrating.
No, I agree, man. That's the thing. You brought up what oppression is it that we're talking about here in America?
Mhm.
Things aren't perfect. Like that's true. Things aren't
Mhm.
perfect. But if you just pause to think about how privileged we are just to be Americans,
Yes.
like that in and of itself, I was thinking about this earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday. I was thinking about this. Like, there's so many problems that we like to create for ourselves, like all of these offenses, and like, I don't like this, I don't like that, this should be better, you shouldn't say this or that. Like, when you think about what's happening in the rest of the world, like the true atrocities that are happening in the rest of the world, or like even the homeless people that you're talking about, like what their life really is, we need to remember how fortunate we really are.
Mhm. And you notice that there's this thing of if you appreciate being fortunate or having what you have, there's this strange thing to shame people for it.
Yeah. Like,
I
oh,
don't
it's
understand
toxic
that.
positivity. I am so grateful for my life. I try to see the best in everything. Like, oh, that's toxic positivity.
Yeah. It
We always
is.
just gotta make everything bad. Why? Why do we do this?
I don't get it. I really don't. Okay, so here's something I've seen. And this is something I've been told that I should do as someone who does like a lot of stuff with gaming companies, is I need to push that, oh, I'm a POC, I'm a Black person, blah, 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 blah. I need to tag these companies and encourage them, aka
Race bait them?
race bait them to support me. And I've seen this I've seen this with, okay, let's talk like the George Floyd situation and the riots and protests that went on with that. Streamer Twitter, I saw a lot of creators use that was going on, get check marks on Twitter, grow massive followings, get a lot of stuff on Twitch, get partnered on Twitch, get companies just doing stuff. At the end of the day, these companies don't give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
People need to understand that. But, you know, these people talking about how oppressed they are and how hard it is being Black. And yet, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. This is being afforded to them. Are you really oppressed? So in saying that, I got shit on, especially when I saw a lot of them post like they want to help, like a lot of Black creators that blew up from doing this. And they said that they want to help other Black creators. And all I saw was them helping their clique, their
Mm-hmm.
circle. I called that out on Twitter and I got hella hate for it. I said, look, if you're going to talk about helping Black creators, why are you only helping Black creators that are in your circle? And hell, a lot of them aren't even Black. You're just helping people in your circle in general. Like, if you're going to have that energy, keep that same energy across the board. And it's just, I'm seeing it again. Like this push came back around. I saw a lot of Black creators talking about they don't get opportunities. Microsoft and Sony were sending out Xbox Series X and Xbox One. What is it? Series X? What's the name of that thing?
Yeah,
Series
they named it poorly.
Yeah, they really did. But you know, like they sent out the Xboxes. Sony was sending out the PlayStations, and I'm like seeing the trend that the people they sent it to, the Black creators, all they do is focus on their race for opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And they were getting it. Everyone that kept saying, "Oh, look, I got this," and look, and thank you, blah blah, for representing for acknowledging POC creators like me. I'm over here like, man, I'm busting my ass, and I'm a Black creator. I don't focus on race, and I get ignored by these same companies. Okay, so and I was like, oh, I was told, yeah, you got to focus on your race, man. That's how you're gonna get ahead. And I'm like,
Yeah, squeaky
to
wheel
me,
gets the oil.
to me, it just feels like it's selling out. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? I know you've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I observe a lot of that stuff. I tried to stay out of things for so long and just like scroll on by, keep my like happy yoga content and ASMR content, but eventually I was just like enough is enough, and I feel like I'm not lying, but I feel like I'm not being genuine when I don't speak, to what I believe to be true. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Holding all of that in, I feel like was, well, first of all, it's killing me. Like I was just
Yeah.
stressed the heck out. But I also feel like my community deserves my honesty. I actually just started a free speech zone in my Discord where we have a politics and religion section.
Mm-hmm.
Where, if you don't want to deal with that stuff, you don't have to go there. We don't talk about it on stream, but we can all come together here if you want and, dive into the meteor stuff. And it's actually been a really positive experience. Yeah, I remember when Twitch was doing like front page, all Black creators. And I'm happy that those people got front page. I mean, front page is a great experience. Like, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that those people got it. I hate that they got it for their color.
Yeah.
If Twitch had approached me instead of for yoga because I was Black, I might have turned that down, which sounds
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but I don't want to be recognized or honored or portrayed in any way, like just for my skin tone.
Yeah.
I had no choice in that. It doesn't matter. But my content, what I create, how I hope to help the world, like that's what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like when you don't push the race thing, like that's in a way you get ostracized, you know.
Mhm.
And I've
Get called
noticed that.
fun names.
Oh, yes, they get really
Super fun
creative.
names.
You know, you're a coon, you're a Uncle Tom, you know. I've been called. I'm a porch in and house in, and
Yep, the
I'm
house,
like
yeah, house N-word. Yep.
I'm like, okay, so I want to be an individual, and I accept that I am an individual, and that's a problem. Okay,
Yeah. I'm choosing
but
hope over continued fear and oppression, and I'm crazy.
well, it's kind of like something that Kanye said a while back. Is you notice that every year they're always giving us a new slavery movie. They're not pushing out messages of how we're succeeding or overcoming or doing great things.
Mhm.
They're always pushing to remind us, you were this, your people were this, you're oppressed. They're always pushing out
Mhm.
that negative message. And I'm kind of wondering, is there a subliminal reason for that? Is it just literally to keep people down? Because it comes off that way. It's
No,
like it's an indoctrination.
I agree. Hollywood really bothers me. I'm frustrated that we don't get a lot of movies that just have strong Black characters that tell a story, a life story that doesn't
Mhm,
have anything to do with their color or the struggle or like, stereotypical things. Like
mhm,
that's why I loved Tenet so much because we had a strong Black lead and the movie had nothing to do with the fact that he was Black. It was just
mhm,
an excellent movie. Um, and I was watching Evil recently, on
mhm,
Netflix. Strong black male lead, has nothing to do with his color at all. And I'd
mhm.
like to see more of that. Like, you don't like, how many movies about white people talk about them being white people?
Yeah,
They don't. Like, so why does that have to be such a big focus for us? Why can't we just be in good movies about cool stuff?
yeah. It kind of makes me think of that movie Descendants that was based off of people being a Hawaiian being mixed Hawaiian or Hawaiian Asian, and the outrage that that movie got people who don't live in Hawaii saying like that's not how they look out there, and I'm over here like, yeah, it is. But like this whole push, literally, like, okay, to touch on what you were saying, I used to love and I haven't kept up with new seasons, but the show Luther with Idris Elba,
Mhm.
and he, strong black male lead.
Beautiful man.
Hey, look,
It's
I
pretty.
don't look, you know what? Look, I don't swing that way, but that is a gorgeous man. I
He
just
is,
gotta keep it a buck
he
50.
is.
It's like, but that show was so good, and it never had any focus on him being black. He was just a great detective who just knew how to do his job good, and he had the respect and admiration, not because he was black, but because his character was good.
Mhm.
And I love that. I thought that was a positive reinforcement versus I'm black, support me. I'm special. Look at my skin color. Da, da, da. I'm ranting. Anyway. I got choice feelings. But
Yeah, it's like, people talking about being proud Black.
mhm,
Um, and I mean, I struggle with that concept
mhm,
because how can you be prideful of something that you had nothing to do with? I like that I have curly hair. It's something I really like about myself, I
mhm.
like that I can get tan, I like those things about myself, but I have no pride in it, because I had no choice in it.
Yeah.
No, people are like, "I'm so proud I'm tall." Like, I mean, you didn't make yourself tall.
Hey. I drink my milk.
Maybe that's where I came up short. I didn't drink milk. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the idea of being prideful about your color or any physical trait that you had nothing to do with is such an odd concept to me. I won't say it's wrong. I mean, I guess you can feel however you want to feel, but it's just odd
Yeah.
to me.
No, I agree with you. It's very bizarre to me that that is the push, and it's just like I can't control what my parent like. I didn't pick my parents, I didn't pick my genetics. I have no control over it. What am I proud of? I'm proud of having this show. I'm proud of this show being #1 for 5 years. Yes, that's a
Yes.
flex.
Hype.
I'm proud of what I've done with creating content and having opportunities to speak at colleges and speak to students and helping other people. I'm proud of that because I had actual involvement in that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't control this.
No.
So I'm with you. Like, it's there.
It is what it is. It just is what it is,
So I guess shifting gears. So you're also a holistic health coach. How'd you get into that?
Like I said, I've done many things in my life, and it was just one of those things of like, this seems like a good idea. So I went through a year training for that. I've not actually applied it like in any full-time capacity. Like I've never worked as a coach, but I use my knowledge from my training in my yoga, in my content creation. I actually just a couple months ago wrote a course on discovering your purpose and how did I word it? It's been a minute since I looked over it. It's discovering your purpose and learning to value yourself. So I've used those skills and that knowledge to build out a course. I'm maybe deciding to launch it in the new year. We shall see, but it's there. It exists. Yeah, I see a lot in the Twitch community, people who just seem to be there's lots of imposter syndrome happening. I see that a lot. I see people really struggling with self-worth and what they're doing with their lives. There's a lot of questions around that, I think. And so what I created, I hope will be helpful for some.
Awesome. And also the focus on helping gamers get healthier. What's the driving force for you behind that? Because I do feel like as gamers, a lot of us are not healthy. The gaming lifestyle, especially when you see them pushing energy drinks, like what's the main one? Is it
G Fuel?
G Fuel, yeah. Like you're pushing all that. That shit's not healthy.
No.
But anyway,
you want a heart attack? That's how you get heart attacks,
right? Get some scoops. No, don't drink it. Just do a line of it. Just snort. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, there is a stereotype for gamers. Obviously, not everybody falls into that category. But stereotypes exist for a reason, right? They come from somewhere. So that person exists, that doesn't get up for hours on end, who's wrecking their back and their hips and their neck and shoulders and risking blood clots for gaming. That happens. Also, snacking and eating at your desk. So you're you're not mindfully eating. So you're not noticing like quantity. Energy drinks and snacks and caffeine. All of those things are pretty terrible. And our eyes, being in front of screens for super, super long periods of time really takes a toll on our eyes, and that can take a toll on our sleep cycle. So all of those things need to be addressed in our community.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that, and I'm very, very glad to know that like you're pushing to put out that message of we do need to get healthier, like especially sitting in front of a computer screen, like that blue light that goes into your eyes, it does deteriorate your eyes. And like my glasses, I'm very grateful for these glasses because I'm nearsighted. So these glasses have blue light blocking technology in them. And I think a lot of people who are gamers, regardless of whether you got good eyesight or not, you should invest in that because the blue light disrupts your sleeping pattern. It degrades your eyes over time because it's an unnatural thing that's just pouring into our eyes. Um, Sitting and snacking at desks can be incredibly, it builds a negative habit of how you're eating, and kind of a depend. You get to a point where you're only going to snack when or you're not gonna get up and go and do anything. You're just gonna grab a bag of chips or some candy or
Mhm.
whatever, or any of the delicacies we have out here in Hawaii, which I'm guilty of, and partaking in and just sitting here at the computer. And again, that's another thing. That's just sitting in front of a computer all day is unhealthy. Like you said, you
Mhm.
can get blood clots from that. You need to get up. You need to walk. And it's just that message is not put out there. And gaming companies or these companies that interact in the gaming space, they know that, but they see their profit. Like, I'm not
Right.
gonna tell these people to get healthy. I'll lose my profits. Like, no, you sit on your fat ass. You keep doing that.
Why can't we see granola companies like targeting gamers with some like RGB? Like, let's
Right?
go.
Right? Have you ever noticed, and I find it so interesting. You notice how if you were to buy like healthy stuff or healthy foods or snacks, you notice how more expensive they are compared to shit that's unhealthy for you. I feel like it's by design.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can get into some conspiracy theories there. Maybe not today.
Right?
Um, but yeah, packaged uh health quote unquote health foods can be pricey.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're just going for straight whole foods though, you can do that pretty cheap.
Yeah. True. True. All right. So I think I have got all the questions I had for you. Is there anything actually no. I do have something else.
Yeah.
It just came and went. Oh damn, it went away. I'm back. Oh, okay. What advice? 'Cause I know we spoke briefly on imposter syndrome and being
Yeah.
very strong. What advice would you give to people wanting to get into content creating, streaming, YouTube, like, and not being caught up in imposter syndrome? What advice would you give?
I think that it's important to, I mean, in life and in content creation, I think it's important to know what your foundational values are.
Mhm.
That was a really life-changing realization for me when I was able to like sit down, make a list of things that are most important to me in my life. And so that no matter what, whatever I'm working towards, it needs to be in alignment with these things.
Mhm.
And when I'm in alignment with that, I feel fulfilled. I feel happy. I feel successful. I feel like I'm on the right path. I feel morally
Mhm.
sound. So, with content creation, I feel like it's the same thing. If you lay a firm foundation for yourself, you have your values, you have what you're working towards. No matter what happens, you can
Mhm.
be pleased and you can be happy with your work.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. And let's see. Final question. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Game healthier and happier, friends.
Actually, I lied. I do have one final question.
Okay.
Did you have fun?
I did. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much. I haven't talked about a lot of these things publicly, so it was cool.
Also, well, it's been a blast having you on and being able to have like open, honest conversations like this. And I think where people can people are going to take it how they're going to take it. But I
Sure.
think the reality is we need to be able to, all the people like to talk about safe spaces, but we need to literally be able to have open, honest conversations
Hmm.
about situations that's going on, because especially for us that are Americans, we have freedom of speech, and it is becoming increasingly terrifying how freedom of speech is being silenced. You don't toe a line, you get silenced. It's very, I can go down a rabbit hole with that. I could say it's very George Orwellian. I could talk about how um that's very authoritarian,
Yes.
and it's we've seen that happen, and that's never had a good outcome, and
It's a
I
slippery
choose
slope for
it.
sure.
It really is. I hope that for any Americans watching, appreciate the freedoms that we have. I am very scared that the route we're going, things are going to go away because we're going to get dropped in boxes. But I'm and this is why I love my wife. She is the positive aspect that pulls me back into thinking that things balance themselves out. So
Yeah,
I
we might swing really far over to a bad territory
yeah,
at some point, but I'm sure the pendulum will dip
swing
back to
back.
some semblance of normal at some point. Yeah, speech is such an expression. I think is such an important thing. I through most of my life, some of the people closest to me have thought completely different than me about almost
Hmm.
everything. I mean, I'm a millennial and a conservative and a Christian and and brown, and those things don't make sense to a lot of people altogether.
Yeah.
That's a very confusing thing for a lot of
Hmm.
people, and there's a lot of assumptions that go with those things about
How
me.
dare you be brown and conservative?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't. They're racist. No,
yeah.
I'm conservative too. I think you picked up on that.
I had a feeling, but yeah, there's a lot of assumptions that go with that. But I've always been open to listening, to communicating with people who think differently than me, and I've been fortunate that a lot of people have been open enough to hear me as well in my
Hmm.
life. I've grown up with people from all over the world in my home, from
Hmm.
Albania to Afghanistan to France to Gabon to Ireland. I mean, I've met people from all over the world, all kinds of different belief systems, all kinds of different thoughts and opinions, and like we all can live together. We just have
Yeah.
to learn to communicate, and as trite
Hmm.
as it is, love. And I'll
Yeah.
say love does not mean, you know, just agree. Like sometimes love is disagreeing to
Hmm.
help someone to a better place.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean yelling and screaming at them or calling them names, but sometimes it's love to disagree.
Yeah. It really is. And I think I don't understand why we've gotten to this point where it's wrong to disagree, because my thing is we can agree to disagree. We're not going to agree on everything. You're going to have a different perspective than me, but I can still be cool with you.
Right.
I've been told that because I'm conservative, a lot of my liberal friends are like, I can't be friends with you because you're conservative. I can't be friends with you because you believe in God and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, before you knew that was my beliefs, you were fine with it.
Mhm.
So how about you just accept that as that's what I believe, but or that's my viewpoint, and we just be. I'm like, because you say, I tell a lot of people, I'm like, you say a lot of shit I don't agree with, but I'm
Right.
still cool with you.
Right.
It's scary, this whole intolerant nature that's just pervasive, but then people claim how tolerant they are. So
Yeah.
It's,
I just ask more questions. That's
yeah,
my thing. Just ask questions.
you
You
know,
know, you have an assumption about somebody, ask. Clarify it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that person's a racist. Ask them. Talk to them. Question them about their lives. Question them about their beliefs. Don't just slap a label on them, stick them in a box, and hate them. Ask
yeah,
questions.
yeah. Ask questions to gain understanding, because people need to realize that your viewpoint, keyword is your. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like people need to understand that people have different experiences, and we're not a monolith. Like
No.
we have different experiences, we have different viewpoints, and just celebrate when people talk about diversity. Hey, we're extending this. People talking about diversity. Here's the thing. I love diversity. I love inclusivity, but truly adhere to that and don't just use that as a buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be celebrating diversity, celebrate the fact that we're all from different backgrounds. Celebrate, if you're going to talk about Black diversity, or diversity within the Black community, or not, that's not it. Diversity is when they apply it to just being us that are Black. Celebrate the fact that not all Black people have the same experience. We don't
No.
all think the same. We're not all victims. I have a victor mentality,
Yes.
not a victim. Not a victim.
Victor, I love that.
No, I, God has blessed me so much in my life that I'm not a victim. I'm 4 years in remission from cancer. I was
All
told
right,
I was
man.
gonna die, and I put my faith in God, and God has helped me through so much, through all of that. I don't have all
Mm-hmm.
the hair on my head from chemo radiation, but I still have my life. So I
Yeah.
don't need, I'm here for a reason, and I know that's probably something that may be unique to me, but I'm just appreciative. But yeah. So I guess with that being said, plug your links, and then we'll tally ho out.
Well, thank you so much again for having me and sharing so much of your story too. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, true. It's been a blast having you on the show. I'd love to have you back on again. We definitely need to make this happen. And
Awesome.
and
Let
for
me
the
know.
Yeah. And for the audience, you guys will be able to find all of Amber's social media links at her outlets from YouTube to Twitch, available down in the description below. If you enjoyed this show and you want to see more like this, then catch us, the Kasanova Podcast, #1 podcast in Hawaii, #1 in the Pacific. When I say Pacific, I mean the Pacific Islands. There's a lot of islands out here, so y'all need to understand. A lot of people seem to get mad at me, like, how dare you say you're #1 in Hawaii? How dare you say you're #1 in the Pacific? Look at the stats. The numbers don't lie. Anyway, with that being said, you can catch the Casanova Podcast on every major podcasting outlet, from Google Play Music, Apple Play. Well, no, actually not that anymore. It went away. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Pandora. We just got over to Amazon Music. Amazon personally reached out to us to get the show over there, so you'll be able to catch it there. And coming soon to Sirius XM Radio on the live weekly format. And with that being said, if you want to catch a video format of this, you can catch us with brand new pre-recorded content, sometimes live on youtube.com/Mikhail Casanova, as well as on Twitch. Occasionally we do live stream podcasts over there. So twitch.tv/Mikhail Casanova. And with that being said, if you enjoyed it, let us know. Leave a like if you're on YouTube, leave a rating and star if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. With that being said, it's Mikhail Casanova and Amber. We're signing out. We hope you guys have a great one. Be easy, be blessed, and with all that being said, take care of yourself, stay safe, and have a good time. That being said, oh yeah, I'm signing out. I completely messed up my ending. Anyway, have a great one, people. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it was informative, engaging, and you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you go ahead and leave a rating and a review. It greatly helps out the podcast and helps the platforms that we're on go ahead and promote us more so that more people can check it out. And if you're wondering what all platforms we're on, aside from what you've listened to it on, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. And if you want to support the podcast, then we've got Patreon, so patreon.com/Mikhail Kasanova, which allows us to continue doing what we're doing. If you're looking for this in video format, we're also available on twitch.tv/Mikhail Kasanova, as well as youtube.com/Mikhail Kasanova. So with all that being said, I'll catch you on the next episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast and the #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Kasanova Podcast. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.